Good morning, everyone. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Elesha. I'm the trust manager here at Ranui Baptist Community Care. I woke up this morning and I thought, shucks, I should have just left a bed in my office. I feel like I've been here 7 days a week almost. Live and breathe this place. It's awesome though, it's awesome. Anyway, I want to share with you just what the trust is, who we are, what we're about, what we do. And I'll ask a couple people maybe to share a few stories on what we've experienced throughout the past year. So just a bit about myself before I start. I am a mother of 6 wonderful children. And I have to constantly remind myself, I love my children. I love my children. They break a plate. I love my child. No, they're great. They're awesome. They are aged between 6 and 16, so some lovely different growth cycles going on. I have been working for the Trust for 3.5 years now, I think. I think that's going on 4 years. It's been awesome. It's been a journey. It's definitely been an experience. From year one, I've been able to see the growth that we've had. And it's just awesome. It's awesome. The stories, the people we get to meet. I don't know, does everybody know here or not know any? Wait, hold on. Does anybody here not know what the Trust does? Can I see hands? There are a few. Okay, cool. So the Trust runs in the building between Mondays and Fridays. Sometimes we might have a gig or something on a Saturday. And we run a range of services, which I'm going to go through. But before I go through that, I just want to make a special thank you to some of our board members. Without you guys, the Trust wouldn't be here. You guys are amazing support to myself, to the staff, to the decisions that we make, and in terms of the strategy that we're taking for the future. So thank you, Peter. See you, Lynette. I can't see everybody, the lights are on my face, but there's a whole lot of them out there. And welcome to our new trustees, Nicole and Jess Kidd. So it's awesome to have you guys on board. Do you guys all know Robert? Robert Murray, the money man? He's my best friend. He approves my credit card. Robert is amazing. He's our finance manager here at the Trust. So he deals with a lot of our budgets, budget setting for the year. He helps me allocate stuff for our grants, our funding. Again, my best friend. Got to sweeten him up sometimes, bring in some chocolate, if you want something. No, but he is absolutely awesome. He's also kind of like an office manager. He runs around, and the most important job he has had this year is to give our lovely friend Matua Rehana a hard time, which he is so successful in doing. All right, so another service that we have is our budgeting service. This year, we've had 10 fewer clients than we did last year. However, the number of face-to-face clients has increased by 31 people. We're also finding that a lot of our clients are not just coming in for a one-off session. Their cases are a bit more complex. So in our financial mentoring, they might do KiwiSaver withdrawals. They could just do a simple budget for themselves, or it could be a requirement for, say, work and income, MSD, housing, whatever it may be. And yeah, that could be a one-off appointment, like I said before. Otherwise, we've had 34.4% of people have to return for 2 to 3 more sessions, and 36.3% for 4 sessions. A lot of these clients that come in sort of at the verge of hitting rock bottom or going downhill, or they're at rock bottom and they need that desperate help to get out. So it's quite nice seeing them sit down and have genuine conversations with our budgeting advisors. We've got Ella, Glenn up there, and Graham over there. And they're really cool. We've got people that can come and sit down, and you're not treated like a number. You're greeted as a person. They listen to you. They hear the heartache that you're going through. It could be a job loss, a rental cost that's gone up, and health issue. And these guys actually get behind you. They support you. They write letters to support you with other agencies, and then they go through your finances. So it's more than just a practical thing that someone might require. Another service that we have is transitional housing. This year we have housed 31 families, and we have 16 houses on our books. So we've got one bedroom, we've got 6 2-bedrooms out in Blockhouse Bay, and then the other ones are 3 and 4 bedrooms. And we're finding that the demand in transitional housing is huge at the moment. For one house that we put up, Tia might correct me, but we might have up to 5 applicants per house, something like that. Cool. A bit more depending, yeah. So Tia is our housing navigator. She works with a lot of our clients in helping them, I guess, in their well-being, helping them look for a permanent solution. So transitional housing, they'll come into our service. They stay with us for a maximum of 12 weeks as per their contract. After the 12 weeks, we review it and see if we need to extend it further, which a lot of the time, a lot of these families do. Some of the families are facing homelessness. That's how they fit the criteria to get into emergency or transitional housing. Their stories are really, really heartbreaking. Tia, did you want to share Sam's story? I'll get Tia up here. Isn't she lovely?
Kia ora koutou katoa. So as Elesha says, my name is Tia and I work in transitional housing as the housing navigator. I've been a part of Ranui Baptist Community Care for 18 months now and absolutely loving it. I come from a youth worker background as well, so I guess God knew what he was doing with me, putting me on the path, keeping me humbled to help people in need, and it just blesses my heart that I have been given that opportunity here to continue on that pathway as well. So as Elesha was saying, we have housed 31 families this past year, and that's an increase from last year, which we housed 26 families. Since we've written the report, we've seen a number of people being able to find their forever home. We're really lucky that both Elesha and I have built some really strong connections with governmental bodies, other organisations, and it's who you know, not what you know as well. So we've acquired some friendships with property managers, if you like, which has helped us rehome these families as well. But one family I would love to share their story. She came to me as a single mum with a 16-year-old and a baby living in a driveway in her car, in her brother's driveway. She couldn't have access to her brother's home because they both him and his wife suffered with mental depression, and so she would have to get permission to be able to go into the home to make her baby's bottles. And she'd been living in her car for months on end with no support or help, until she pretty much cried and begged her way through MSD to get the right support. And she was led to us to help her. Elesha, Monty and I just moved mountains within, I guess, a day or two to rehome her into one of our homes. And she just cried, and she couldn't be thankful enough for us helping and supporting her and her 2 kids. She ended up in our services for, I think it was 7 to 8 months in the end, just trying to find her forever home. in that time, she reunited with her father's child, who was suffering with cancer as well. So God is great. He brought that family unit back together, knowing that they needed one another to continue on in this life. And it was nearly 2 months ago that they finally got their forever home, and they're living happily as a family now, raising both their children. And yeah, so we have quite a few stories as such. As Elesha says, we come across some real heartbreaking stories. We do get quite a lot of refugees. Some have come from, obviously, countries that suffer with war. So hearing some of their stories and the fact that we can help them in this country, we are just so blessed to be able to do so. But that's it from me. So I'll pass it back over to Elesha now. Thank you.
Gee, awesome. Actually, speaking on the refugees, we've had a huge influx of refugee families come through our service. And there's one family in particular that got referred into our service recently, or a few months ago. And this family the guy used to come into our food bank. So I got to know him over time, maybe a couple of years. And we would spark little conversations here and there using my Google Translate on my computer. His English, he could speak a little bit, but hardly any. Anyway, I found out that he was a soldier back in Afghanistan, and he showed me this photo on his phone, and it's him literally in all this army gear, this huge like machine gun over here on the shoulder, bullets wrapped around his body, and I'm like, hold up a second, this is you? Security, you know. But just his story, and then he told me that one day there was a plane that landed wherever they were, and his family were like in this big, sort of described it as being a complex, and his family were there, and pretty much an alarm went. And when the alarm went, that meant run for your life, get on the plane, whoever fits, it's going to leave. If you don't make it, you'll miss out. So he dropped all his gear that he had on him, ran home, grabbed his family and kids with literally nothing, jumped on that plane and ended up here. And it's funny because he's been in our food bank service for a while, like I said, and then all of a sudden he got referred into our transitional housing through work and income. And this family, we've been able to support them in a variety of ways. And actually quite recently, Tia and I have attended court twice over resolving some issues in regards to a past rental, but it's only due to them not understanding the systems in New Zealand. So they face a lot of trouble. They don't know anything here. New Zealand's completely different, and I guess this is the struggle that some of us are facing across all our services. You know, they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go for help, and quite often you'll see one refugee come in or someone come in, and then they go and tell their other friends and their other refugee mates, and then the next minute we've got a whole bunch of them coming in, and we're all using Google Translate, which is great fun. Also with our transitional housing, this year Rob Kidd, our lovely chair of the board, allowed me, or with the rest of the board's approval, a nice little budget to do some renovations. So for one of our properties, it was looking a bit grim, had a really old school kitchen and stuff, and you'll see in the annual report, which is out the back there, there's a photo of two of our kitchens. So one of them with the old one, and we've been able to rip that out and put a new one in. And it was a great team bonding, team effort. Tia, Monty and I did the job. So it was quite cool. It was after hours. We all got in, chipped in, brought our kids in, and had a lot of fun doing that. So we're quite proud of that little project. Yeah, women can do anything. Yeah. The other thing that we've done this year, we've just kind of started, is we've launched the Reset program, which is really awesome. Reset stands for reconnect, evaluate, strengthen, empower, and transition. So that goes within our transitional housing department. It's about when they come in, clients come in, it's about building who they are, seeing what they are going through, understanding that, evaluating that, and then strengthening the skills that they need or finding courses and stuff like that to refer them to, just so that they build themselves up. Self-confidence is a huge one. You'll notice that a lot of the people that do come in all our services are lacking a lot of self-confidence, actually. Like I said before, they're normally at the bottom of the hill and they're struggling to get up. They don't know where their feet are. They're stumbling. So just guiding them through these simple processes sometimes can mean or make a world of difference. Yep. Unfortunately, Monty couldn't make it today, but Monty is our tenancy manager. He's also our Mr. DIY fix-it guy. So when something goes wrong around here, we yell out for John and Marion or Monty. Like I mentioned before, we've got a food bank that runs on Fridays between 9:30 and 11:30 in the morning. We've had a huge increase recently in the number of families and individuals that come in. Let's go back 2 weeks. We had about 75 people. And then last week we had just over 70 people again. So the demand for food is incredible. Some of these people, I must say, are repeat people who come in all the time. But then we do have some that are really reserved and quiet, and they come in and it's a huge thing for them just to step through those doors and ask for a food parcel. It's really whakama, shame. And I'm glad that staff and people here just treat them so open-heartedly. We want to help people, so yeah. I must say though that our cupboards are very, very bare. They're actually empty. We had one donation today. Thank you, Pam. So she brought a little pack of meat and some other lovely goods. But that pack of meat is the only pack of meat that we have in the freezers right now. So we've got 4 upstanding freezers and 2 chest freezers, and they are empty. So that is the first time that they are literally empty in the 3.5 years that I've been here. The donations that we normally get, we get donations from Fair Foods and some of our sponsors. I think we've had Go Nuts, off the top of my head, Rotary Club. They ran a canned food drive for us, and a whole bunch of other food banks. So they were awesome. We got the schools involved this year. They ran a can drive and brought a lot of product in. But yeah, all of that's gone. In June, we did a shop. So Robert has been lovely. He gave me a little budget for a year. And I've tapped into that budget twice. We did 2 big shops since June. And we spent about $5,000 on basics. So that includes baked beans, spaghetti, cans of tomatoes, pasta, rice, sugar, flour. I think we bought a little bit of milk, the long life stuff. And then we bought some sachet stuff, the quick mix a meal up, make pasta and it turns it into a carbonara, wannabe chef kind of thing. So we bought a whole bunch of that. So $5,000 we've spent since June. And it's nearly all gone. We still have a few cans, I must admit. But it's quite scary actually, especially when people go to places like Working Income and they're getting denied or declined a food grant when they actually genuinely need it because they can't sustain a weekly budget. They just don't have enough income. Or they've got children that have sports, or a car dies and they suddenly don't have money for it, and then WINS turn around and say, no, we're not going to help you. But here's Ranui Baptist's number, go there. So we're getting a lot of referrals come through and a lot of walk-ins come through. And sometimes the walk-ins come at the end of a food bank when we've got nothing, which is really sad. and we just scavenge and find something. But it's quite sad because normally we give like a full banana box out to a family, and recently those banana boxes are looking like one banana's in it. So your support would be lovely. The community dinners. So the community dinners have been quite scarce this year. We were doing them, I think, every week. Then we turned to every month, then bi-monthly. After the floods that hit Ranui in 2023. Now we've only done it this year twice. We did one in Easter, and we've got one coming up at Christmas. I think we've put a date on it. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking it's the 16th or 17th of December. It'll be in your notices, don't worry. And you're all invited. We're hoping to bring in a lot of the community and some of the members of the Ranui Accord. So the Trust is a member of the Ranui Accord, which are 8 organisations within Ranui, and we all work together to advocate for things like safety issues, roading issues. Ourselves here, we hold a portfolio for emergency preparedness, and there's a whole range of stuff that's going on with the Accord and different projects that we run. But I'm looking at getting some of their support to come in and make it a real community thing. Also, at our community dinners, which is really cool, Christmas time, we all know what Christmas time's about. It's about the birth of our dear Lord Jesus. So every Christmas, I like to sneak that in there. And I get a few funny looks sometimes, but I have a few bakers, good friends, that love to bake a big birthday cake. And I get everybody in the room to sing happy birthday to Jesus because that's what we do on birthdays. So what a cool way to just share something different and remind people out there that Jesus is real, Jesus is here, and that's the reason for the season. So I quite enjoy that, and I look forward to celebrating another year of it. Toy Library. Toy Library ran for quite a while. It was an awesome service where mothers and families could come in and rent a toy for a couple dollars and just sort of change it every now and then so your kid doesn't get bored with the same toys and you don't have to fork out for a large expensive one and for your kid to just kind of chuck it in the toy box and want something else later. Unfortunately, this year was the last year that Toy Library ran. I would like to thank Janet Kidd deeply. She dedicated 10 years of service supporting this. So that's just amazing. The toys that were left over were donated to Mainly Music, which is another service that we run. Our op shop had some. A handful of our clients that came in, transitional clients, like I said, some people come into our service with nothing. So when they've got young kids, it's always nice to give them something. You know, here's a home, you guys got a bed. And they're all excited about that, but hey, guess what? Here's a toy, you know. And I think we've given some to budgeting, Glenn? Yeah, we did give some out to budgeting. And the remainder of these toys we sent to a remote village in Fiji. So that was really cool. I took leave for the first time in 3.5 years this year. And I took off to Fiji for 6 weeks and left my troop behind. And I went on this 2-day boat ride from the mainland to these outer villages. There was a big ceremony happening where the chief was being installed into his position. And while I was there, it was so cool. It was just amazing. I wish I brought photos now. PowerPoint? No, so while I was there, literally, you're walking into a place where there is, how can I describe it? Tin huts, sheds everywhere. I'm almost going to say it's like it's up north, but I think it's worse. There's, how do I explain it? You've got one big island. There's 8 villages on the island, and an old pickup truck that is very, very unreliable and only goes to a max speed of 30 k's per hour. It takes you 45 minutes to get around the island. So it's very small, but also quite big, in a sense that each village is quite defined. They have their own, I guess you could say, hapu, iwi. It was amazing. Everybody was a family. It didn't matter what village you were from. Everybody knew everybody. And I guess I'm Tongan, half Tongan. And it's quite similar to that. Like every Tongan knows each other. You're all cousins. But in the middle of all the villages was this big cricket park. And as the kids would finish school, my kids would sit on the porch out the front, and they're watching all the kids, and the principal's at the front of the line with this big cane, and the principal and another teacher's at the back of the line with another cane, and all these kids are just walking in single file. They're not allowed to look, they're not allowed to talk, nothing, until they get to their house and they run off. And then they all come down and everybody congregates at this cricket park. Well, when they go there, the kids have changed, right? And I saw the most coolest thing. So when I first started, 3.5 years ago, we had an excess of these T-shirts that had been donated to Graham Davis. And the T-shirts were like these white softball T-shirts, and on the sleeve they had different colours. So one might be red, black, and I can't remember the other colour. Anyway, we had so many of these. They were in op shop for ages, and I thought, right, let's send them away. Let's give them away. So I actually took a whole bunch and I sent them on a ship to Fiji, to this remote village in the middle of nowhere. And when I got there, I was looking at the cricket pitch, and there were these kids running around with all these T-shirts. And I'm like, we sent this 3.5 years ago. What the heck? If that was my kids, they would be shredded by now. But these kids treasured it. It was, there's a school there. There's actually a few schools on this little island. And one of the schools, they used it as their sports uniform. And I was like, wow, you know what? Like, this is something that we didn't care for. We didn't want. It was not rubbish, but it was just useless to us. And here it was being sent over there, and these kids are just like, this is gold. This is amazing. So that was such a blessing to see. I took heaps of photos of random kids and wearing it. Maybe I'll send some for the newsletter, Sherilyn. So yeah, that was awesome. We also have Friendship Club. That's amazing. Fridays, they come along, they play some Rumi Cub. I walked past it. Did I say it right? Right, well, see, I don't know. I walk past, I watch them play it all the time, like, I got to learn how to play that, It's been 3.5 years, I still have no clue. But it looks like they have so much fun. The people that join it are lovely to come by and have a chat with, have some morning tea, and oh my gosh, the baking they bring in. It's delightful. Then we have the op shop. The op shop's actually really, really cool. It is open on a Tuesday. However, I love it because, again, we have people that just walk in off the street sometimes, and I remember a guy came in once. He didn't even have shoes on. His clothes were kind of a bit tatty and whatnot. I offered him a shower. He jumps in the shower while he's washing his clothes, and we managed to find him something to wear out of the op shop. So it's really cool having it on site. And it's also awesome the way that the building is designed. So the op shop literally folds right up. Some of the clothing goes into a I guess you could say, office storage space at the end of the building, at the end of the hall, and the rest of the cupboards are just by the cafe there. So when we have these urgent needs that come up, we're able to go in there and just search and help people. And when it is open, most of the items in there are only $1 or $2. So when we say op shop, It literally is an op shop. There's a lot of op shops out there that are making a lot of money out there, but I actually love the fact that we are still offering $1, $2 items. I think the max that we've kind of got is, well, it's not the max, but it's very, very rare that you'll find something for over $5. This year alone, the op shop has generated a profit of $7,331. So that's quite awesome. Yeah. So that could be like 5,000 items sold, something like that. Yeah, so every week they bring in, on average, about $160, $170. Another program we run is Mainly Music. Mainly Music is great fun. It's Robert's favourite thing of the week. Gets him out of the office and he's running around chasing little tiny toddlers. No, it's awesome. The children come in. It's run by Sherilyn and Sarah, and they do their thing over there. I try and avoid it because I've got 6 kids, so when I see more kids, I'm like, not today. I come to work for a break. No, but it's really cool. They set different learning programs and stuff based on music, so everything is through music. And it is really cute too to see them come in and just learn and play and have fun. And again, the most important part that I enjoy is the morning tea. It's very healthy too, because healthy eating. This one, emergency response, this is something that I've had a lot to do with over the past, since 2023, when the floods hit. Actually, we've all had quite a bit to do with that. So I think last year in the annual report, we noted that we started the Emergency Response Collective, and that was a collective of organisations, individuals who held different skills, businesses that had different items or products that could be used or needed if an emergency was to occur within Ranui. And basically what this collective does is we hold a database of that, and if an emergency sparks up, according to the Ranui plan, emergency plan that was also written by us, we can declare with the approval of the Accord an emergency response is needed, and then we call upon the Emergency Response Collective and all our expertise. It's been such a blessing actually to see the different organisations that have jumped on board. For example, we have Dan the man. He's the owner of the pharmacy down the road here. He's actually got the shelf all set up with emergency supplies. Every 6 months he rotates that shelf, and that shelf is put aside just for us. So if there's an emergency or something that we don't have here, for example, say someone came in and was having an allergic reaction and they needed an EpiPen, if we don't have it in our first aid kit because it expires all the time and it's expensive to replace, we can run down there and grab one and save a life. So it's little things like that. We've also got tiny homes on board. So tiny homes have offered a piece of land and a whole bunch of little tiny homes if an emergency happens and families aren't able to go somewhere. We can open up here again like we did during the floods as a community-led civil defence centre, or we can take them down to tiny homes and they have an actual house to stay in with their families in the interim. So that has been amazing and awesome. This year we secured some funding, and these funding were to run 3 workshops. We've got CALM, which is focusing on healthy boundaries and psychological first aid, because you don't know what you're walking into when you meet someone. And that's actually been really, really practical for a lot of our services here. You don't know who's going to come in. You don't know what story they bring. You don't know the hurt they come from. And you could say one thing or approach the situation a certain way, and immediately that person's walls go up. So learning your healthy boundaries, learning psychological first aid has become a must. It's really, really handy. Healthy boundaries in particular focuses on yourself as a person. A lot of our staff and volunteers wear their hearts on their sleeve. You come in, you need help, mate, I'm there for you. I've got your back, is kind of how we all are. But when do you stop? A lot of them, it's hard. I go home sometimes and there might be this one client that's in my head, and I pick up my phone and it's like 7 o'clock at night. This is my family time, right? But nah, I'm sitting there. Hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? Have you eaten tonight? Have you this? Have you that? It's the heart we have, right? But sometimes it's really, really good to just be like, actually, no, tonight is my no. I need to take care of myself. Mātua's probably looking at me and going, oh, see, didn't I tell you this? Tells me all the time. But it's true. Healthy boundaries is really, really important. You need to know who you are, what you can take on, and where your limit kind of sits, and when it's time to sort of say, okay, I need someone else to step in here so I can have a break. The other workshop we've got is first aid. So we've made a really cool connection with Sunia. He runs Priority 1, which offers first aid. So he's been coming in and running these at different locations. And our lovely Liel, if you remember her from last year, she's running the emergency preparedness workshop. So that is teaching people what you should do, where you should go, who you can connect with if an emergency strikes. So we ran these in different locations within Ranui. These were picked up by Auckland City Council, and they're now running in different locations as far as the North Shore and one in Papakura. So that's been really cool to see that grow. And I guess just knowing that it started off in this little place called Ranui. We've got a big grant that's come in as well, and that's going to fund the purchase. Actually, we've already purchased it, a 20-foot container that will be located down the road. And in that container will be emergency supplies that will be specifically for Ranui for an emergency. So it will have like something, we're not 100% sure yet, we're still going through the details, but some form of bedding, whether it be stretchers or mattresses, something like that, emergency food on rotation, and we'll work that in with our food bank, medical supplies, we've got a couple of generators, that kind of stuff. So it's always on hand, and the Accord will hold the keys for that. So just know that if you live in Ranui, we've got your back. If you live outside of Ranui, well, you better get someone like us to help you guys out. Or just move to Ranui. Already spoken on the Accord. So yeah, that's pretty much the services that we run. I've spoken about that. I wanted to share a couple stories though, actually, just about the ripple effect that something we might say can make in someone's life. We had a lady turn up on our doorstep one morning, and this day I was so busy. I was swamped with work. I didn't have time for this kind of thing, you know. That was my attitude that day. Anyway, she walks in and Robert kind of comes up and he's like, there's a lady at the door. I'm like, yeah, no, I won't go this way. I walk right around the building. But of course I saw her, and so I was like, okay, bring her in. Took her through. She was effectively homeless. She was very far from home. She was from Gisborne. She had moved up to stay with family while her house was getting fixed up. She had a house fire and she moved in with her sister up here. Her sister has mental health issues, so there was an episode and she was pretty much told to leave, so she had nowhere to go. And she, like I said, she's so far from home. I pulled in Tia, I think, on that day and someone else, and we just advocated on her behalf and tried to get her accommodation up here in Auckland while she waited for the house, or a ride down there. I wasn't really that prepared to drive down to Gisborne. What we did end up managing to do for her was we did get her some emergency accommodation, and she had that for, I think, 3 nights. And then she got a bus ride down to Gisborne, and we advocated with staff down there in MSD to get her emergency accommodation close to her home, which was awesome because they had originally said that there was nothing available in Gisborne. The hotels and motels were full, but we just hounded them in. I guess the big man upstairs came to the party, and we won. We got her a house, Hey, God. Pretty cool. But as I was sitting with her in that room, I had this little discussion, and she was like, that bag there, she had this little cooler bag, and inside was her Bible and stuff. She pulls it out, and she's like, I gave my life to God, and I'm trying to do right, and I keep sliding back, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Just letting her pour out her heart. And then she goes, I just feel that I'm not, worthy. And I was like, why do you say that? She's like, well, I don't even have a house. I don't have this. I don't have that. And I was like, and? Is that your excuse? Are you serious? And then we kind of, it opened up a door where we could just share and be real. And my trust manager hat came off, and I was a mum with 6 kids. I've been through hell in my life, and I was able to share some of my experiences with her. I went through 16 years of domestic violence, and it wasn't a very nice life at all. And I was able to share some of that with her and say, hey, I went through this. I lost God. I didn't, I blamed him partly. I didn't feel worthy. I was told every day that I was useless. I was a piece of crap. I know I'm not. Thank you. I know. They've lost me. Yeah, anyway, so I was told all of this stuff, and I got to a point in my life where I started believing what I was being told, right? I started questioning myself. I knew inside that I was worth something, but then when you're told every day and it's drilled in your head and that's all you're hearing, I'm like, well, actually, I can't do that. I didn't do this. Oh, man, I forgot that. Shucks, I am a bit useless. And I started believing it, and I lost myself, I guess you could say. And I saw that a little bit in this lady. And then I was like, you know what? You said you're a Christian, right? She was like, yeah. I was like, so why are you saying you're useless? Why are you saying you're not worthy? God's brought you here for a purpose. Maybe God's brought you here for a purpose so that we could talk and connect. Because if God's in you and God's like the almighty guy, he's like the Lord of Lords. And if he's in here, then doesn't that make you something? If God's in your heart, aren't you, you're holding everything in you. He is everything and he's in you. So you are not nothing. And it kind of got in her head, and she responded to that. She started crying a little bit, and she brought up this pastor that she was talking to. His name's gone out of my head. And this pastor is a pastor down in Gisborne. And I knew him. My dad was an evangelist growing up, so I travelled with him all over the place to different places where he used to do healing. He ran a healing ministry, and we met this guy at one of these crusades that they were doing, and I was like, oh my God, I know this guy. He's my friend. And I messaged him. I said, can I take a photo of you? Do you mind? And I took a photo of her, and she was telling me how once upon a time in one of his meetings, he said something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something that was just, that kind of slipped out. It had no, he said it, but wasn't saying it with much meaning behind it. But whatever it was, it stuck with this lady, and she went home and gave her life to God, right? And I thought, that's so cool. Can I take a photo of you? And I did. And I sent it to this guy, this pastor. And he replied to me that night, and he's like, I don't remember her. Okay, cool. But he said, that is actually so, so cool that he was all the way in Gizzy, went there for one meeting. That one meeting he said something, and it wasn't a major thing, it wasn't the topic of the night, it was just something that slipped out. It hit home for her. She goes home in tears in her bedroom, gets on her knees, prays, gives her life to God, and realizes, I'm worthy. And when we had that conversation out there, she remembered all of that and went back to that place. She felt refreshed, like she was born again. And that was really cool. And it just got me to think, the ripple effect of what we do as a trust. Graham, he had a conversation with someone the other week, and he managed to help them. That little ripple, they accepted it. I think they, if I get my story right, he helped them dig themselves out of a hole through financial mentoring. They were very grateful, and then they're wanting to come back and even volunteer. We're seeing that all the time. People come into our service, they receive the help, they're so grateful for it, and they just want to give back. And that ripple effect is just growing and growing and growing. The little things that we say that we might not hold much value to, or it's just an everyday thing. It's not actually an everyday thing. It's an exciting thing for someone who's coming in and just picks up on that one tiny thing, and it just means the world to them. And I think that is the biggest impact for myself, working in the trust, seeing the change in people's lives, and the biggest impact that we make in our clients. And I've heard a lot of good feedback this year, which has been amazing. Yeah.
Hey folks, I just want to say that it's great, as a church team to be brushing shoulders with Elesha and her team. We all get on so well together, and it's a testament to Elesha's leadership. The way she leads creates a great atmosphere of really wanting to care and help for others. So I'm just going to finish the service now by praying for her and praying for our trust. Father, we thank you so much that you drew Elesha to us. You drew Tia, and you drew all the staff that work in this trust, Monty, who's not here today. And Father, we're just so grateful that the trust can be our arms and our feet in the community. And Lord, wherever I go, I hear great things and great reports of what goes on. It's great to hear that. So we ask for a blessing, Lord. We ask that you would bless Elesha and her family and all those who are involved with the trust. Bless them, Lord. Bless their families. Lord, help them in the midst of working with people who are crying out to have boundaries for themselves so they won't get overrun. Help us to support them, Lord, in any way that we can. And Lord, as the new year unfolds, we just pray for your continued blessing on the trust and on our staff and on our community. In Jesus' name, amen. Have a good week, everybody.